So, the AEW and Impact Wrestling working relationship. We have another update, or at least a contrasting version of the update, I must say. Now, a lot of people have been talking about this. We have spoken about this extensively on the channel. Why? Because it's exciting. It's so exciting to know that two companies, relatively big companies in North America, are working together. We haven't seen stuff like this for a while, and it obviously does raise the question about what can and will happen when it comes to this possible AEW and Impact working relationship. What we do know right now is that Kenny Omega will be appearing on Impact Wrestling on Tuesday on Access TV. That's the confirmed thing, but there have been lots of reports. We reported yesterday about this special report from, it was an exclusive report from Nick Hausman over at Wrestling Inc., but there have been kind of contrasting reports, or reports that suggest that this report isn't completely accurate. So I wanted to try and give both sides of the argument, or at least all the reports that we're getting online. I think that's the best thing to do with this situation. Until things are confirmed, what we can do is look at everything that's out there, try and give our opinion on what they're saying, the validity of it. Do we think that's right? Do we think that's wrong? Whatever. I think it's just good to keep discussing things, right? So the initial report, we'll go over what was initially reported by Nick Hausman over there at Wrestling Inc. So this past Wednesday, of course, AEW presented the special edition of Dynamite called Winter is Coming. Now, on top of the surprise debut of Sting, which lots of people are talking about, the show ended with Kenny Omega defeating Jon Moxley to become the new AEW World Champion. But it was what happened after the match that people are still talking about here on Sunday, all these days later, and that was about Don Callis, the current Impact Wrestling Executive Vice President, helping Kenny Omega win the match. And after the match, as Callis and Omega would head their way out of Daly's place, sprint their way out of Daly's place, Alex Marvez confronted them both, said, "What's going on?" And Don Callis said that Kenny Omega would be headed to Impact Wrestling on Tuesday to discuss his championship win and explain what is going on with this situation. So everyone was buzzing. Myself, I was buzzing as a fan of pro wrestling, to be honest, but as a fan of Impact and AEW, I was incredibly excited about what this meant. We did videos on potential matches, potential, dream matches, future pay-per-views, all this kind of stuff, and people are still talking about that. There's been discussions about, is this a fair and balanced relationship? Is it lopsided? Does AEW benefit? Does Impact benefit? All this kind of stuff. But it was reported by Nick Hausman of Wrestling Inc. that the relationship isn't really what we thought it was, and it's not that scheduled to be super intertwined, and not as intertwined as we would have liked as fans. From what they had heard, Omega's appearance on Impact on Tuesday, which has since been confirmed, was going to be done as a favour from Kenny Omega and AEW to Don Callis, who, of course, look, Kenny Omega and Don Callis, close friends. Don Callis has been a mentor figure to Kenny Omega throughout his career. They're both from Winnipeg. They've both been very close from the New Japan days. This was basically a favour by Kenny Omega to Don Callis. Kenny Omega also requested that Don Callis work as a commentator for his big title win over Moxley. Tony Khan, the president of AEW, liked this idea. He said, okay, go with it. I sign off on it. It's a one-off, though. It's not this full-blown working relationship. It's not this huge talent trade. But what AEW were going to get in return for this was a match between the Good Brothers and the Young Bucks in an AEW ring. That angle was said to be, I guess, started on Tuesday on Access TV too, and it will eventually lead to the Good Brothers facing off against the Young Bucks. That's what we were told. This isn't a massive working relationship. It's just a one-off. That's the situation. And I spoke about this yesterday, said that if that is the case, that is quite disappointing. It's not what we thought it was going to be. Nevertheless, that's what we had heard. But there are contrasting reports out there, and again, I think this is important to talk about because it's good to see what everyone is saying and what all various reporters are saying, because once these things start to contradict each other, then suddenly you have to discuss it, because sometimes the real truth lies in between somewhere. It's in the grey area in between. If one report's saying this and another saying this, sometimes the truth is right in the middle here. So we're getting another report from PW Insider, who isn't exactly going as far as Wrestling Inc. when they're talking about this relationship. Quite frankly, they're not saying anything. So Mike Johnson did a Q&A on PW Insider, and he was asked this question, and I found his answer to be very, very interesting. So the question was this. So first, AEW formed a relationship of sorts with NWA via the latter's women's division, and now it looks like AEW is partnering with Impact through Don Callis and Kenny Omega's new alliance, which really surprised me. AEW doesn't really seem to shy away from acknowledging, even promoting rival promotions. Do you think this will be a scenario similar to how WWF boosted ECW in the late 90s? Or is it more of a, quote, wrestling industry solidarity during COVID kind of thing? This is what Mike Johnson responded, and again, very interesting I thought his response is. He said, quote, "It may be similar to how WWE boosted ECW, but it's too soon to tell for sure. I can tell you, I have asked many on each side about it, but they are keeping mum." He then went on to talking about what this actually meant for the companies, but that quote there is very interesting, isn't it? I can tell you, I've asked many on each side about it, and they are keeping mum. So that is kind of in contradiction to what Wrestling Inc. are reporting there. Wrestling Inc. are reporting that they have this huge update about it's not an intertwined relationship, it's not really a working relationship, it's a one-off, it's a favor from Kenny Omega to Don Callis. Tony Khan's happy with it, but in return, they're getting the Good Brothers to face the Young Bucks. Another part of that report is that Don Callis is leaving Impact Wrestling. His contract is expiring at the end of the month, and he's scheduled to sign with AEW and be Kenny Omega's full-time on-screen manager. That's the situation there. I've seen some people in the comments, I thought this was a great point. I can't remember the name of the person who commented on the video that made this, but they said if Don Callis is actually an employee, which he would be if he was a senior official, an executive vice president, he wouldn't have a contract that actually expires. He would have an employee contract which doesn't go to year or have expiry dates. They have to hand in the notice and they have to work that out. So if Don Callis has a contract where he's an employee, he can't just have a contract that's expiring. He would have to hand in notice. So maybe that part of the report isn't accurate. Basically, no one really knows the situation when it comes to this relationship between AEW. You've got Nick Houseman of Wrestling Inc. saying it's not intertwined, it's a one-off. You've got Mike Johnson saying, look, I've asked around, and Mike Johnson would know. He's been in the industry a long, long time, and he's got some very good contacts, especially in smaller companies like Impact Wrestling and like AEW, where he has a relationship with Tony Khan. We know Tony Khan's a fan. He's a billionaire, but he's a pro wrestling fan. He has deep relationships with Mike Johnson, a PW Insider, and Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer. Why? Because Tony Khan grew up reading their site and their newsletters. So Tony Khan is friends with them both. They would probably ask Tony Khan or people close to Tony Khan and people close to Impact Wrestling, and they're not hearing anything. So it does raise a question, is that Wrestling Inc. report accurate? Nevertheless, we are seeing contrasting things, which to me is exciting. I think it's exciting because when I saw the report yesterday, and you can go back and check the video, when I saw the report yesterday that this was just a one-off and it wasn't really a working relationship, it was just a favor by Kenny to Don Callis, and Don Callis was actually on his way out, I was disappointed. And I think a lot of people were. The reaction that I got was, it's disappointing. A lot of fans want and expect more from this relationship. And given the way that Dynamite went off the air, I think this is what people, and I think this is a really good point. Given the way that Dynamite went off the air Wednesday, people were so excited that this was going to lead to a whole thing, a whole angle, a whole storyline. This was going to lead to a storyline where Kenny Omega and Don Callis stole the AEW World Championship from AEW. They stole their crown jewel, their prized possession, and they took it to a rival promotion. We're holding AEW hostage. We're holding AEW to ransom by taking their world championship. This is a company that's only been around 18 months, and we've already stolen them and buried them. And we're this smaller promotion that had their big heyday, but we're fighting back. And how are we going to do it? What's the master plan? We're going to take this upstart company. We're going to take their world title. What a storyline. And then you had Don Callis kind of stoking the fires about this on social media. Because Dave Meltzer, again, who does have close ties to AEW, especially Tony Khan, Dave Meltzer described it as a Bobby Heenan, Nick Bockwinkel situation, where Bobby Heenan was the manager of Nick Bockwinkel when he was the AWA champion back in the 1970s, and Bobby Heenan helped facilitate the interpromotional match between AWA champion Bockwinkel and the WWF champion Bob Backlund. It was a big deal at the time. Interpromotional world champion match. You'd never seen it before. You'd never seen it before, and it ended in a screwy finish, but the hype about it was huge. So Dave Meltzer mentions that. Next thing you know, Don Callis is posting pictures of Bobby Heenan and Nick Bockwinkel, and everyone went, they're doing it. They're doing that storyline. And then we get this report out saying, no, it's not that. It's just a one-off. It's not intertwined. It's just a favor kind of deal. It's not a working relationship. It's not a talent trade. And now we're getting reports that say it's slightly different. And I think what I would like to see, and I think most people would probably agree with me, I hope so, most people would probably want to see a possible pay-per-view coming out of this, a possible TV special. Could you imagine the rating if it was just on TNT? And I think Impact wouldn't have a problem with this really at all. You could even do a simulcast. How great would that be? A simulcast on Access TV and TNT of Impact Wrestling versus AEW. And they do the whole dream card of Impact's best versus AEW's best. How great would that be? How great would that be? I think everyone would love that. Everyone would really enjoy that. And you could do stuff that creates buzz. You could do stuff that shares talent. You can do matches we didn't think we were going to see, at least not for a long time. I mean, I'm not massive on using the phrase dream match because I think, to me, a dream match is a match that genuinely can't happen for a variety of reasons. Whether they're just different generation, one unfortunately is no longer with us, something like that to me is a dream match because it can only take place in your dreams, right? A dream match to me isn't a match, we never thought could happen, but it does happen. A dream match to me is it can't happen. Nevertheless, we could have some matches that we didn't think were going to happen from Impact versus AEW. I did a video on it, and if you like it, and let me know if you want to see another version of that video in the description, in the comment section below, because I'd love to do another one, talking about possible matches between AEW and Impact Wrestling. I mentioned Jon Moxley versus Sami Callihan. Can you imagine that? Jon Moxley versus Sami Callihan, death match, reuniting the Switchblade Conspiracy from their CZW days. How awesome would that be? You can have matches that elevate younger talent. Chris Jericho versus Chris Bay. Chris Jericho versus Ace Austin. I saw a lot of Ace Austin comments on the video as well. Huge fan of Ace Austin. Can you imagine Ace Austin versus Cody Rhodes? How great would that be? And Kenny Omega versus Rich Swann. World Champion versus World Champion. Is Rich Swann ready for that position? I told you in the dream matches, I nearly used the word, in the AEW versus Impact matches video. Be sure to check that out. So to hear this report that, it's not much of a working relationship, of course, very disappointing, very disappointing. But now that I'm seeing the reports from PW Insider and Mike Johnson saying, well, you know what, I've asked around and I'm not hearing anything. So I don't know who necessarily Nick Houseman is talking to, because they're certainly not the people I'm speaking to, because they're not telling me anything. So it's kind of left in that grey area, and I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it being in that grey area. If it means that it could be more than just a one-off, if it means that it is a working relationship, if it means we can get a talent trade, if it means we can see some really exciting, unique, and innovative content, then I'm all for it. I am all for it. And I mentioned before that if this appearance by Kenny Omega on Tuesday does well, if this match between the Young Bucks and the Good Brothers does well in AEW, it could lead to more, and I think it will. I think it will. I think even in the minds of Tony Khan and in the minds of Don Callis and Scott D'Amore over at Impact Wrestling, I think they thought, you know what, this is going to get some buzz. I don't think they thought it was going to get this amount of buzz. Because all of these days later, people are still talking about it. People are still in shock. People are still in shock that Kenny Omega, the AEW World Champion, is going to be on Impact Wrestling on Tuesday. People are still in shock that the first comments from Kenny Omega after winning the AEW World Championship is going to be on Impact on Access TV. People are shocked. People are buzzing. People are going to tune into Impact on Tuesday that would never watch it. Or at least haven't watched Impact Wrestling since the day of Kurt Angle and the Main Event Mafia on Spike TV. So this is huge. This is huge. If you're Impact Wrestling, you are saying to Tony Khan and all those ones, how can we keep this going? How can we keep this going? And if you're Tony Khan as well, you're thinking, how can we keep this going? Because this is getting a lot of buzz. Yes, the Sting debut got a ton of buzz, and it still is. I'm fascinated by the whole Sting situation. There are multiple stories about Sting and him being unhappy with the WWE, and we're going to talk about that on the channel next week, so be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner not to miss that one. But there is so much buzz about this, and it will continue. It will continue. I think pre and post Kenny Omega's appearance on Impact on Tuesday. And I mentioned this before, and it's an argument that I do want to talk about again because I love talking about this kind of stuff. This is what this channel is about. It's about sharing opinions and sharing your thoughts on pro wrestling. There is no opinion that is wrong on this channel. That's what I love. This is the kind of community and people that I hope we're trying to foster here on the channel, is that, you know, pro wrestling to me is so subjective. It's like music. It's like genres of music that you can go through an album. You can go through an album of an artist and say, you know what, I like that song, don't like that one, don't like that one, like that one, don't like that one. Someone else can do the complete opposite, and they're not right or wrong. They're not right or wrong because it's opinion, and it's the same with pro wrestling. It's all about taste. That's what I love on this channel. So when it comes to this discussion about this arrangement, if it does go further than just a one-off between AEW and Impact Wrestling, who benefits the most? Who benefits the most? Is it AEW? Is it Impact? I actually put a poll up on the community tab about who does benefit the most here, and I think, if I recall correctly, what the actual response was the person that benefits the most is both promotions. And I agree. I totally agree. And I know people think that Impact might benefit more, and maybe they do slightly, but I still do think both promotions do benefit mostly equally here. I do. Obviously, Impact, they have huge benefits from this arrangement because of the exposure. I think that's probably the biggest thing, is the exposure that they get. the exposure of essentially getting a commercial on the closing segments, or the closing moments rather, of Dynamite on Wednesday, that was massive, and it's the biggest Dynamite of the year, one of the biggest Dynamites that they've ever done, AEW. The ending of a World Championship match where for the first time the AEW World Championship actually changed hands on free-to-air TV, and at the end of it you don't say tune into AEW next week to find out more, you say tune into Impact on Tuesday. It's massive. So Impact gets a ton of exposure from that. As I mentioned, Kenny Omega's appearance on Tuesday, I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever they're going to do record ratings for Impact on Access TV. I doubt they will ever do a number that big on Impact on Access TV, or have ever. This might be the start of it. Who knows? I doubt it. But they will do big numbers. Is it going to be as big as what they did when they were on Spike TV? No, because quite frankly, the landscape when it comes to television has changed. TNA on Spike TV got 1.5, close to 2 million live viewers every single week. Yes, that's like WWE numbers nowadays. How crazy is that? Nevertheless, it's going to be big ratings for Impact on Tuesday, and it's big exposure, and just having the talent, right? The talent of having Kenny Omega come to Impact on Tuesday is massive. And if this is a further relationship, having people like Cody Rhodes, who knows, even Jon Moxley, Chris Jericho. I'm sure Chris Jericho would love to do Don Callis a favor and show up in Impact Wrestling. He would love that. That's such a Jericho thing to do. So getting that talent, that's hugely beneficial for Impact Wrestling. But AEW does benefit. One, they get the buzz. As I mentioned, we have done a ton of videos here on the channel about this. Social media is still talking about this. Even the discussion about who benefits the most means you are talking about AEW and Impact Wrestling. The fact of that alone means that it's working. The fact that means that people are talking about AEW and they have buzz. So already the relationship is worthwhile. Plus, AEW are getting talent from it as well. The Good Brothers are coming over to AEW. They're not signing with AEW or anything like that. They're under contract to Impact until 2022. They signed 2-year deals with Impact Wrestling. Nevertheless, AEW is benefiting. They're getting a ton of buzz and a ton of talent when it comes to the Good Brothers, and maybe even more. Maybe even more if this goes on. So, as I mentioned, when it comes to these reports, they're contrasting, they're conflicting, and I kind of like it. I like that we don't really know. I'm all for the ride here. I think, yes, when it comes to pro wrestling, we're always trying to figure out what's next. Sometimes that's the fun of it. I think that's the fun of the channel as well. Not just discussing opinions, but trying to figure out what's coming next. We love to play fantasy booker, right? I hope it's more than a one-off. And I've stated that before, I'll state it again. I hope it's more than a one-off, because not only did the fans seem really invigorated by this, but so did the talent. You look at the talent of both AEW and Impact, they were so excited by this. Whether it's Sami Callihan calling out Jon Moxley, whether it's Nyla Rose and Jordan Grace talking across social media, whether it's Chris Bay, responding to our videos, talking about facing Chris Jericho or possibly facing Pac. I mentioned before, imagine Pac came in, competed for the X Division Championship. Trey Miguel could sign with AEW and then appear right back on Impact Wrestling. How cool would that be? Brian Cage, former Impact World Champion. Imagine him making a return to Impact. All that fun stuff. That could be so excited. Ali, she was great in Impact Wrestling. She can come back from, she signed to AEW. She can come back with Braxton Sutter. There is so much to do. There is so much crossover there that could be so fun. And I'd be so excited to see that. Imagine Darby Allin coming in and having a little bit of a run in the X Division as well. There is so much there. There really is so much there that could be done, and a ton of potential, and it isn't lopsided. I really don't think it's lopsided. Now, let's talk about second show. Is Impact going to be AEW's second show? No, it's not. It isn't. But I just think, people are quick to rule this out. And I know, like I said, the report said it was a one-off. And I know Impact have taped all of their TV episodes for the remainder of 2020 and some of 2021 as well. And obviously that means that, are they going to add a lot of stuff in? No. But they can absolutely film a lot of promos and vignettes, edit that in. And by all accounts, that's what Kenny Omega and Don Callis have done. There have been reports that basically over the last couple of days, Don Callis, Kenny Omega, they've filmed a promo that's going to be edited into Impact on Tuesday, which is what I said. Kenny Omega's not going to appear in the Impact Zone, or he's not going to appear at Nashville, Tennessee and Skyway Studios, nothing like that. Nevertheless, let's hope. Until we hear, concrete reports from either AEW and Impact, it's obviously going to be open to interpretation, and different reports are stating different things. And that's what I wanted to achieve with this video, is kind of say, look, we're hearing one thing here, but we're also hearing another thing here, and anything can happen. So we didn't think this was previously possible. It's kind of unprecedented with these two size companies working together. It's a bit like WWE and ECW, I guess, in the 90s working together. But it's exciting. It's exciting, and in pro wrestling we do look forward a lot. So let's just appreciate this for what it is. I'm really excited for Tuesday, of course, like a lot of people are. I'm really excited for Wednesday and this whole Don Callis, Kenny Omega, AEW Impact storyline. It's fascinating to see. There's a lot of buzz and it's great for Impact and AEW, so I'm certainly excited. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on the latest developments with this AEW and Impact working relationship? Is it a one-off? Are people staying silent? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interact with you guys, chat about AEW, Impact, WWE, NXT, pro wrestling in general. Really enjoy chatting with you guys, making a community here on Wrestle News 365. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button. Really does help us out here on YouTube. Go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now. Or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. And I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.